Hello, my name is MB Hanrahan, and I am today's host for OurVentura.com. And today, I have as my guest Josh Addision, my sometimes landlord, head of Bell Arts, if we can say. Josh, hi.
Hi,
welcome.
MB. Hi.
Okay, so before we get talking about you and Bell Arts, I'd like to know a little bit about your family's history.
Sure. Well, my grandparents sent away to the Chamber of Commerce in Ventura and a couple places in Florida, and I think Santa Barbara in 1952, and decided from Johannesburg, South Africa, that they were going to move their two sons back to America before they fell in love with girls over there and never got to come home. So they got on a boat, got in a car, drove to the West Coast, made a right-hand turn at LA, and looked right, saw the courthouse, and decided this is it. So that was arrival in Ventura for the Addison clan, and my grandfather went to the banker and said, I want to buy a business, and the mattress factory was for sale, and he went into partners with the then production manager, Don Johnson, because he knew how to run a business, not necessarily how to build a mattress, and they built a thriving enterprise. So that was the roots.
So this is Bell, it was Bell Mattress on Ventura Avenue.
Yes, that's right. Founded by the Bell family in 1932, I believe it was, and operated by them for 25 years.
Okay, so your grandfather, grandfather family, getting property in Ventura.
Right.
How did you come into the picture?
Well, my dad grew up here, and then I always would come here to visit my grandparents, and it was sort of coming back home because it was part of the roots of our experience here. And then in 2003, my family and I decided to join my then elderly grandparents here in Ventura, help them, and start working with some of the family businesses, and we've happily been here ever since.
My experience of you was having you or your family as a landlord in a property on Ventura Avenue and Main Street.
Right.
And that's when I first met you. So you came to town, and suddenly you were going to be taking over Bell Mattress and developing the property at the corner. Then what happened?
Well, fortunately, I knocked on your door, and you were in the middle of the Tortilla Flats project, right?
Just starting it,
yeah,
yes.
And possibly needing some bigger walls, some more space. And, you know, let's admit it, that building was sort of falling down around your ears, right? It really needed TLC. And that was part of my whole mission here in Ventura, was to take these historic buildings that my grandparents had, you know, wisely invested in, but that really did need some additional work, and doing that rehabilitation process. So now those buildings are in lovely condition, and we're lucky to be working together at Bell Arts Factory. But that building needed to be restored, and so we did that. To,
at that time, develop a really large property into studios for artists. What was with that?
Well, a really, really good muralist in Ventura named MB Hanrahan said it was a good idea, for one thing. So credit where credit is due. I mean, the fact that you did visit the building with me and said, yeah, this would work, was really that sort of linchpin. Okay, you know, somebody who knows what's going on here and who obviously is doing work is willing to take the flyer and join me in this building. And then several other people then who I got to know, and it was really a wonderful serendipitous journey, because you introduced me to a couple of people who introduced me to a couple of other people, and before you knew it, there were a bunch of artists who had expressed interest and really come in and scrawled their name on the floor in this then vacant, really dilapidated building and said, I'll take this space, I'll take that space. And it made sense from my family's perspective to do something that would be an investment in the community, and really, in a way, it's a good thing to have done with the real estate, but it also is a very good thing to have done in and for Ventura. And Ventura has done so much for our family. Every time I meet somebody who, and this is pretty often, who bought a mattress at Bell Arts Factory, at Bell Mattress Factory, what I say to them is, thank you for sending me to college, because my grandfather helped pay some of my tuition. They bought mattresses, so their mattresses helped me to get an education, and I'm grateful for that. My family's grateful for what Ventura has been for us, which has been a wonderful hometown for decades.
Talk about what goes on at Bell Arts. Some people just might not know.
Sure. Well, we have 27 art studios, and there are something in the neighborhood of 35 plus artists, because there are some shared facilities. and we have the Vita Art Center. We have our Janet Addison Community Room. And we have a lot of events and collaborative experiences that go on. We like to describe it as a place for imaginative, creative expression. And that is an important thing to have happening in a community, for people to be able to imagine something and then to learn that craft, that technical aspect of how to express that. So we have classes for kids after school and weekends. We have adult classes. Vita has a wonderful curriculum of classes for all ages. As you know, I mean, and a lot of the other artists there are teaching classes there. So it's a co-learning experience where people are sharing that learning process, and I think that that's really virtuous as well.
This last year, we're talking 2010, 2011, the city of Ventura turned over the art walk that we've had for years. People going around to artist studios, you know, seeing art kind of at one time of the year, big deal, over to the artists, and you were involved. Why don't you talk to us about that? We understand that it's past, but it may become a future event. Talk to us.
Well, it's been an interesting process because the art walk as a city-led event was really one of the fundamental things that brought people to Bell Arts Factory, let them know we were there. So I've understood it to be a really important part of our local art scene for the people here, and also bringing people to the community to experience the work that you and other artists are doing, and to really have that kind of, you know, great weekend, really rich arts experience. But the city, as so many other government agencies have been experiencing, really got to the point of looking at their budgets where it didn't seem like it was in the cards to keep doing it. And so a pretty substantial group of us felt as though that was something we didn't want to see, just the art walk going away. And so we offered to work together to still put it on and have it evolve. So we remonikered it the West Side Art Walk, because a lot of what's happening with gallery and studio activity is on the West Side, but it's still very inclusive of the downtown. I like to think of the West Side as, say, west of Seaward, inclusive of downtown and the Avenue community. And we really put the emphasis on having the art in arts venues, galleries, studios, the museum, arts-focused retail establishments, so that the work could really be appreciated and the artists could have an experience with their work that was really at a high level. And so that people who came, and we did a big advertising and got a lot of press, and we had tons of people come. People were able to come and be with the artists and their work in environments that really honored the work, and not difficult environments like a restaurant or maybe a really busy retail establishment where it was hard for the people and the artists to really have that sort of dialogue that you hope is part of that art walk experience, which I think we really did experience. And we're actually getting together shortly to do a recap and start planning for upcoming events. So it really has been a great leap forward, I think, for the community to have a sense, the non-governmental community to have a sense that they can work together. And we really did a lot of teamwork to put something like that on. It's fun, good fun.
It was a weekend before.
Sure.
Is there any plans for expanding on it, or we don't even know? Well,
we have talked about the possibility of expanding it to still include the West Side Art Walk for that weekend and have that still be focused on visual arts, which has been the classic art walk, has been that visual arts experience. But then to, in addition, have Arts Week Ventura for that week in advance, which would include theater, dance, film, writing workshops, really all different aspects of art and creativity. And that would be something that would also be very well promoted, and a lot of people would come to town, have that really rich, diverse, creative, artistic experience for that week, and then have that visual arts focused art walk be that capping aspect of that. So we're starting to percolate on that. We'll see how that goes. You know, it's one of these things where we've got to pull the resources together and make it happen, but a lot of good people are involved.
So as a developer, if I may call you that, do you have any vision for what you see? Well, I'll say the arts, but just in general. Now you pretty well ensconced in our community, like myself, not coming from here. Do you have any vision of where you could see Ventura could go, something positive?
Sure. Well, I think that the individual aspect of who is here, the people, that's really your core starting point for the future possibilities for the enriched and developing growth of Ventura. There are so many people here who have chosen, like you and I, to be here because we found that it was a place that we were comfortable, that we liked, and where we had the opportunity to create a life for ourselves that we enjoyed and that we felt was good for the place where we were living as well. And I know you do too, a lot of people like that. And so it seems to me that with that locally based, creative, expressive economy where you have, if you take companies like Patagonia is a great example, that's really a design company. Yes, they make products, but they're designing and creating things, and that's an artistic, expressive process. There are a lot of design companies in Ventura. So when you talk about that future economic development, while we see a lot of more classically industrial jobs going to other places, and I know, in many respects that's a mournful process and people have lost jobs and I'm sensitive to that, but in terms of what the future may hold for Ventura, it may be that it's more in the area of design and creation and imagination of things that then are formed physically in some other place. And that's what I'm seeing as far as some companies that I see emerging are more design companies as we go forward. So we'll see. I mean, that's just one aspect. Who knows? I don't have a great crystal ball, but I know I'll be here to enjoy participating with our friends in the process. It's delightful.
I heard a story. I've heard little stories, but tell us about the parakeets in your past.
Well, I have parakeets in my present as well. Two parakeets currently, Sunspot and Gabriella are our two current birds. But the tradition of Addison Parakeets in Ventura goes back to shortly after the mattress factory story, because Bob and Janet's next brainstorm after buying a mattress factory, you got to do something loopy next, I guess, was to start a parakeet farm. And not too many people know, but America's largest parakeet farm was for many years in Saticoy. 20,000 plus parakeets in one place. And I can tell you, when I was a kid, walking through those aviaries was a magnificent and noisy experience. And I love the story. After my grandfather and grandmother decided they would start this parakeet farm, and they'd found some land, Janet, my grandmother, and a friend of hers were dispatched to Los Angeles to go buy the breeding stock. And so they went down in the family station wagon, apparently, and came back with cages full of parakeets. And as the story is told, they had their scarves around their head, and no air conditioning, I guess, in the car, the windows down a bit, and air flowing, and bird feathers everywhere, or the little tiny feathers that the parakeets put off, getting in all over. I just have this wonderful vision of my grandmother working her way up the coast with a car full of parakeets that became this farm. And so, yeah, an interesting, bizarre combination of mattresses and parakeets. But boy, they sold a lot of parakeets. My grandfather had been a partner in a pet store in South Africa, so he knew there were good margins in birds. He was a smart businessman.
Thank you very much for enlightening on that. I could not resist. And also, may I say, hearing that story, maybe it just doesn't sound so crazy to come to town and start an art studio.
Anything's possible, right? With stories like that in the family, you really, if you let your imagination guide you, pretty much you can do what you want within reason and ethical behavior.
With vision and a good attitude.
Right.
Josh, it's astounding to me, but we are almost out of time.
Is that right?
Is there, first off, I want you to please tell us where people can find Bell Arts, and then how we can get in touch with you.
Okay. Bell Arts is physically located at 432 North Ventura Avenue. That's 4 blocks north of the intersection of Main Street and Ventura Avenue in Ventura, in the historic Avenue community.
That's right. And
online, you can find us at www.bellartsfactory.org. And I'm always happy to receive email from people who want to learn more at Josh, Josh, at bellartsfactory.org. Or you can call me at 805-746-2818. And that is the way, digitally and physically, to find Bell Arts Factory. First Fridays are a great time. First Friday of each month around 6 o'clock to come. Galleries are open. We've got the Tool Room Gallery, Vita Art Center, off in the community room, and open studios. Great time to come visit us at Bell Arts Factory.
People can just come by.
Just come by 6 o'clock or so on any first Friday of each month, 12 times a year. We're having a great event.
Wow.
Thanks, MB.
Well, that's all the time we have. Again, I'm MB Hanrahan. This is OurVentura.com. And this was Josh Addison. Josh, thank you so much.
Thank you, MB. What a treat.
Continue to watch us, and thank you very much.
Thanks, MB.